The idea that Yoda ever studied the dark side actually has a clear answer, and it lives inside how fallen Jedi twist their own memories when everything they believe shatters. Across legends and canon, stretching over more than 6 decades, the pattern is the same. Once a worldview collapses, the past gets rewritten in the mind. Count Dooku's private thoughts expose this perfectly, because his belief never comes from proof, only from a deep misunderstanding. In the Legends novel Labyrinth of Evil by James Luceno, we're dropped straight into the Sith Lord's head during the Clone Wars, and his reaction says everything. At Geonosis, Yoda handles Sith lightning with calm control, and that moment rattles Dooku badly. The shock makes him wonder if his former master secretly explored the dark arts over 800 years, not to gain power, but to study an enemy he thought he understood. That wording matters a lot, and it exposes the flaw. Dooku is wondering, not knowing, guessing instead of remembering. He imagines Yoda studying darkness as a tool for understanding, never as a source of strength. But that seed did not come from nowhere. The idea was planted decades earlier, in a single quiet moment, 63 years before the Clone Wars, and it slowly poisoned his perspective. The Legends novel Yoda, Dark Rendezvous by Sean Stewart, shows the exact moment through a flashback, and it hits hard. A young Dooku sits beside Yoda near the ornamental pond in the Jedi Temple Gardens on the eve of his first solo mission, feeling heavier than he ever had before. For the first time, he senses how easy it would be to sink into the dark depths of the Force, and their talk turns philosophical fast. Dooku speaks about the Force flowing through all life, high and low, great and small, light and dark, and he trails off, uneasy, until Yoda calmly finishes the thought for him. The ancient master didn't dodge the truth at all. Yoda openly admitted he had felt the pull of darkness across his long lifetime. When he calmly asked what mistakes a soul as old as his could make over 800 years, the young apprentice froze in place. With a laugh and a light tap of his cane, Yoda answered his own question, saying he had made many mistakes, before suddenly turning serious and dropping a warning that hit hard. The dark side grows strongest inside the powerful. That single moment flipped everything the young Jedi thought he knew about his master. The Grand Master of the Jedi Order had just admitted he felt the darkness directly, not from a safe distance, not as a theory, but as something real. Yoda explained that darkness exists within the Force itself, woven into life, but he made one thing crystal clear: Jedi must recognize it, but never stare too closely, because knowledge can slide into obsession faster than anyone expects. That line, knowing versus studying, planted a seed that would grow into something dangerous later on. Young Dooku was already primed to misunderstand those words because of what he had seen during his early training. The canon audio drama Dooku, Jedi Lost, by Kevin Scott, fills in the missing context and shows how outside influences shaped his thinking before he even realized it. As an initiate, Dooku crossed paths with Jedi Master Lene Kostana, a hardline thinker who believed the Order was sleeping on real threats. She pushed for active preparation against potential Sith dangers and hunted relics scattered across the galaxy. Kostana even studied forbidden material, like the bestiary of Darth Kaldoth, brushing right up against lines the Council didn't want crossed. Even after the Council rejected her approach, her ideas stuck. She later took Sifo Dyas as her Padawan, while Yoda chose Dooku, but the damage was already done. Kostana argued that young Jedi should be trained to recognize and neutralize dark side artifacts, claiming the Order was unprepared and naive. The Council shut her down, calling it unnecessary and risky, but that exposure locked a dangerous belief into Dooku's mind, one that would twist Yoda's words into something they were never meant to be. To a young Dooku, the message started to sound clear, even if it wasn't meant that way. Dedicated Jedi, the exceptional ones, could approach darkness if it served a higher purpose. He had already watched Lene Costana bend council rules to study the enemy firsthand, learning early that defeating evil sometimes meant understanding it deeply. Years later, when Yoda admitted he had felt darkness across 8 centuries and said Jedi must know it, the idea locked into place. Those moments formed a pattern in Dooku's mind, and patterns are dangerous when misunderstood. Maybe some individuals were strong enough to walk closer to the dark side without falling. Written evidence from Dooku's youth shows this belief taking shape over time. Slowly but clearly, the in-universe training manual, The Jedi Path, preserves this progression through handwritten notes from both Yoda and a young Dooku, frozen on the page. Yoda reviewed the manual around 15 BBY, while Dooku owned and studied it during his Padawan years, roughly between 89 and 82 BBY. Dooku pored over Yoda's annotations, reading every line, every warning, especially passages about the Sith's supposed defeat. After the Battle of Ruusan, Yoda added a margin note, admitting that he sometimes sensed darkness and warning that Jedi must stay constantly alert. Right beneath that, Dooku added his own thoughts, and this is where things tilt. He wrote about whispered rumors claiming the Sith survived through the rule of 2, 1 master and 1 apprentice. On another page discussing holocrons in the Jedi archives, Dooku noted that a fellow student had briefly stolen a Sith holocron, pointing out that Jedi safeguards were weaker than the Council believed. He went further, questioning whether Sith holocrons revealed knowledge to just anyone at all. The implication was clear. Maybe access depended on the individual. These annotations expose a young Padawan actively tracking who touched dark side materials and who survived the contact. It wasn't curiosity anymore, it was fascination with forbidden knowledge, and it was growing right under the Order's nose. All those moments stacked together started to send one dangerous message to Dooku. Maybe exceptional Jedi could engage with darkness more directly than others without paying the price. Over the years, that belief twisted into something worse, slowly reshaping his memories into what felt like permission to abandon everything the Jedi claimed to stand for. Dooku grew more disturbed by what he saw as rot, spreading through both the Jedi Order and the Republic they served. In his eyes, the Jedi were no longer guardians of justice, but enforcers for a broken system, carrying out laws that protected corruption instead of stopping it. That frustration finally pushed him over the edge, and he walked away from the Order entirely. He returned to his homeworld of Sereno and reclaimed his family title as Count, but peace never followed. From there, his fall accelerated fast, and he embraced the dark side, becoming Darth Tyrannus, apprentice to Darth Sidious, rising as a Sith Lord with everything Yoda had warned him against crossing. Once every line was crossed, the past began to rewrite itself. The fallen Jedi replayed those old conversations, especially Yoda's admission about sensing darkness, and twisted them into something new. Maybe Yoda hadn't just felt the dark side over 8 centuries. Maybe he had studied it deliberately, the same way Costana studied forbidden artifacts. That idea explained everything in Dooku's mind: Yoda's wisdom, his calm, his mastery. But this was memory bending under guilt and ambition. What Yoda truly taught was vigilance and brutal self-awareness. What Dooku now remembered felt like permission, even precedent. That speculation fully hardened during the Clone Wars after one encounter lit the fuse. Labyrinth of Evil captures the moment as Dooku's thoughts spiral years after his fall. On Geonosis, he faced his former master directly and hurled Sith lightning with lethal intent. Yoda deflected the attack with shocking ease, neutralizing the dark side technique like it was routine, like something he had trained to counter specifically. That moment planted a single question in Dooku's mind, and it refused to let go. The text spells it out clearly. Yoda's effortless handling of Sith lightning is what sent Dooku's thoughts spiraling. Watching that power get shut down so easily made him wonder if the Jedi Master had explored the dark arts over 800 years, even if it was only to better understand the enemy he believed he was fighting. That speculation immediately linked to a more recent memory. Only months earlier, Yoda had openly admitted that he carried darkness within himself. In Dooku's mind, that wasn't reflection or honesty, it became confirmation. To him, carrying darkness meant studying dark techniques, not simply recognizing the internal struggle every Force user faces. This is where the mistake fully locks in. Dooku confused awareness with action. He twisted self-knowledge into proof of secret training, turning Yoda's humility into evidence that didn't actually exist. Every Jedi feels darkness at some point, but the fallen apprentice rewired that truth into something far more convenient. And yet, when Master and former student finally stood face to face, Dooku never said it out loud. If he truly believed Yoda had studied the dark side the way Kostana studied Sith artifacts, this was the perfect moment to call out hypocrisy. He could have thrown it in Yoda's face, accused him of walking the same path he now condemned. He didn't do it, not once. Instead, their exchange stayed locked in philosophy and clashing views of the Force. Dooku pushed the idea that true balance required embracing both light and dark, while Yoda shut that interpretation down completely. Neither of them spoke about Yoda personally using dark techniques beyond acknowledging darkness exists. That silence matters. The speculation never leaves Dooku's head. It lives only in his private thoughts, buried inside labyrinth of evil, wrapped in doubt and uncertainty. This wasn't a belief he could defend out loud, it was a justification he whispered to himself when no one else was listening. Even Dooku himself never fully believed it. He wondered if it could be true, not because he had proof, but because it helped explain Yoda's unbelievable power. He never claimed certainty, never said he knew, because deep down he understood the truth. There was no evidence. The single word, perhaps, hanging over his thoughts, exposed the weakness of the idea and showed it for what it really was: speculation without facts. Canon sources shut this theory down from a completely different direction, and they do it brutally clearly. In the Clone Wars animated series, the episode Sacrifice follows Yoda's spiritual journey to uncover the secret of maintaining consciousness after death. During that quest, the dark side doesn't whisper quietly, it attacks him directly. Darth Sidious and Dooku himself use ancient Sith techniques to project their influence across the galaxy and target Yoda head-on. They offer him forbidden knowledge straight to his face. They promise to reveal the identity of the Sith Lord and tempt him with power beyond imagination if he gives in, even once. Yoda doesn't hesitate for a second. He shuts them down completely, stating plainly that the Sith have nothing to offer him. He refuses their promises, their shortcuts, and their power without flinching. The final test is even darker. Through a vision, they offer him the truth he seeks in exchange for allowing Anakin Skywalker to die. The temptation is absolute, the price unbearable, but Yoda still refuses. He declares he will not be tempted, and that he is prepared to sacrifice everything rather than buy knowledge through darkness. In the end, the Sith admit defeat. They acknowledge they failed to break him, recognizing that Yoda's strength of will is beyond their reach. This moment proves everything Yoda was offered: explicit dark side knowledge, and rejected it every single time. This was never a debate about whether darkness exists. It was a direct test, and Yoda passed without compromise. This was not a vague idea or a symbolic test. It was a direct temptation with real techniques and real information, and Yoda shut it down completely. That contrast with Dooku's private speculation couldn't be sharper. The fallen Jedi imagined his former master secretly studying darkness in the shadows, but the truth shows the opposite. Yoda refused the dark side, even when it was offered straight to him, no disguises, no riddles. That gap between what Yoda taught and what Dooku heard is exactly where everything broke. Yoda never denied that darkness exists. He openly acknowledged its presence in reality and admitted feeling its pull over 8 centuries. He even spoke honestly about making mistakes during that time, not pretending to be flawless, but showing brutal self-awareness. What he meant was simple but strict. Force users must know darkness exists, meaning they must understand its presence and nature, not train in it, not experiment with it, not flirt with it. Yoda explicitly warned against studying it too closely, drawing a hard line between necessary awareness and dangerous obsession. That lesson describes the internal struggle every Force-sensitive being faces throughout life. Darkness pulls constantly, quietly, patiently. The challenge isn't pretending it isn't there, it's choosing the light anyway, again and again. Yoda's wisdom didn't come from embracing darkness. It came from 8 centuries of rejecting it. Day after day, decade after decade, century after century, feeling the pull and refusing to give in every single time. Dooku understood none of that, because he approached the question from a Sith mindset. The Sith chase power through deliberate study of darkness. They practice techniques fueled by negative emotion. They research ways to dominate others through the Force. They seek strength at any cost, no matter the damage. That difference in philosophy is everything, and it explains how one truth became a lie inside Dooku's mind. Dooku assumed his master must have followed a similar path to reach such wisdom, because after his fall, that was the only framework he understood. In his new mindset, power came from stacking forbidden knowledge and mastering dangerous techniques. That assumption reflects pure Sith thinking, where strength is earned through study, control, and crossing lines others fear. Jedi wisdom works the opposite way, and that's the part Dooku could no longer see. It comes from lived experience, not secret research. From mistakes made and lessons learned, not techniques collected. From choosing correctly again and again, not from knowing more than everyone else. Yoda's understanding of darkness came from feeling it constantly and rejecting it consistently. He didn't practice dark abilities or research Sith methods. He faced the pull, acknowledged it honestly, and refused to give in every time. The fallen apprentice couldn't grasp this difference, because his own rise depended entirely on studying what the Jedi refused to touch. The truth stands in total opposition to Dooku's belief. Yoda felt the touch of darkness across 800 years of life and chose the light every single time that choice appeared. He made mistakes, like all living beings do, but he learned from them and kept moving forward. He acknowledged darkness exists within everyone because honesty about internal struggle is essential to resisting corruption. He warned his apprentice not to study darkness too closely because fascination itself becomes a trap. None of this describes secret training in dark side techniques. What it describes is self-awareness, discipline, and constant choice. Dooku, viewing these teachings through the lens of his own corruption, twisted honest acknowledgement into evidence of hidden study. But every source proves that reinterpretation wrong. Dooku didn't fall because Yoda failed him. He fell because he believed exceptional individuals could study darkness without being consumed by it, and that belief destroyed him. The real difference between the master and the fallen apprentice was never about studying darkness versus avoiding it. The difference was choice. One chose the light again and again across nearly 9 centuries, while the other chose power and then built a story that made it seem like his master had done the same thing. Dooku's speculation says far more about his hunger for validation than it ever does about Yoda's true path. It shows how fallen Jedi rewrite their own past to make betrayal feel less devastating. They twist honest lessons about struggle into excuses for forbidden study, turning warnings into permission. That single misunderstanding didn't just distort one memory, it shaped everything that followed. The garden conversation didn't create a Sith Lord, but Dooku's interpretation of it helped guide his entire descent from gifted Jedi to Dark Lord of the Sith. To fully understand how Count Dooku fell, the choices he made, and how one belief unraveled everything he once stood for, watch his full biography next. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and share the video, and I'll see you on the next one.